House Democrats will work hard to find bipartisan common ground with our Republican colleagues in the incoming administration on any issue, whenever and wherever possible. We will push back against far-right extremism whenever necessary.
That was Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries on how Democrats will move forward in the 119th Congress, where Republicans are quite literally writing the rule book, making changes like requiring a 9-vote threshold by the majority to oust the House Speaker. Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington is here with us at the table. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
so
morning.
I'll let you, because she's a little bit on fire.
I heard.
I'm just going to continue what I've been saying. The clip that we just played of the Democratic leader, I thought he was right on the money there. Excellent. But he started his remarks talking about the election is over. We're going to lay down the swords of campaigning, of partisanship, and pick up the bipartisan plow to do the work. And I don't understand laying down swords of campaigning, because House Democrats, members of the House are always campaigning. I thought, I thought that we had the executive director of the House Majority PAC on just not 2 weeks ago talking about the work that was happening. And so why do we feel like, because I'm still a Democrat, okay, but I'm really considering being an independent voting lady out here in the streets, because why do folks feel like we need to lay down the swords and pick up the plow? Mike Johnson ain't trying to pick up the plow.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that this was an opening speech for the leader, right? And what he wanted to say is, if you're doing things that are helping the American people, we will do that with you. But we're not going to be there to bail you out. Now, he didn't say all of that, but that is my approach to this. Is I think that there's so much hypocrisy on the other side. There's all kinds of things that were said. Donald Trump said he was going to lower prices, and then the minute he was elected, he said, well, actually, prices are not going to go down. He's got all kinds of things that are going to give tax cuts to the wealthiest and cut Social Security. But, oh, no, during the campaign, he wasn't going to touch Social Security. So I think we will just have to see. We will have to call out every hypocrisy. We will have to be united and strong, standing up against the things that they are going to do when they try to hurt the American people. And I think this was an opening salvo. I think the chairman knows this. You know, everybody at the beginning of every session wants to talk about bipartisanship, and then it devolves very quickly, because you cannot be bipartisan when it's about hurting the American people. That's my opinion. If we as Democrats have to stand up and fight back against the things that are going to hurt working people. And we got to be strong about it, and we have to be united. And one of the first things is going to be around the tax fight, for sure, but also on the attacks on vulnerable communities. It's not going to be easy, because these are tricky roads, to weave here. But I think we just have to be clear that we're going to stand up for people that are left behind, that are attacked, that are vulnerable.
Well, to Simone's point, I totally agree.
I might be joining Michael. I might be a Republican, not a Trump.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to see that.
Okay. All right, y'all, let me check everybody's cup. Check everybody's cup this morning. So to that very point about
that's not happening.
Laying down that sword and picking up that plow shear for bipartisanship.
Yeah.
Let me show you how bipartisan the Republicans are on the heels of all of this. House Democrats are pushing back furiously against a proposed change to House rules that would allow only Republicans to force a vote on removing the Speaker of the House. Top Democrats are arguing the move would inhibit bipartisanship and effectively make House Speaker Mike Johnson answerable only to his members, not the entire House. So help us understand, for the American people out there who don't, the Speaker of the House is not a partisan position.
Correct.
This is not supposed to be.
Correct.
It's the Speaker of the House over both the Republicans and the Democrats, or the composition of political parties someday that may inhibit the House. So you have Hakeem talking about, laying down those swords, and yet in the rules, they want to make sure that you don't even have a place to pick up a sword.
Yeah, no, that's right. This is a rule that has traditionally, under Nancy Pelosi and previous Democratic speakers, the majority of any party can get rid of a speaker. Now, the reality is that the Republicans wouldn't try something like that with the Democratic speaker because you have enough votes to stop that. But it has been to sort of lift up the idea that once you're speaker, you are supposed to represent, at least in procedural matters, everybody.
Right.
Not in political matters. Speakers they represent their own parties. They're elected by their own parties. And so this was a change that was really about, if you remember, before the threshold was just one.
One, right.
And so now they've made it 9, but it's only Republicans, because if you made it 9 with Democrats and a very slim majority, you would, again, Mike Johnson would have.
But it's been the Republicans
same
who've been
issue.
getting rid of Republican speakers, not Democrats.
That's exactly right.
So
And it's been often this play of bipartisanship comes in when somebody needs to be saved, right? Or when you need to keep the government funded, or when you need to, lift the debt ceiling. And Democrats have traditionally stepped in. But remember, that's been in divided government. And I think now with the Republican trifecta, they need to do these things on their own. That is my view, because we saw what happened the last time. There was a bipartisan deal, and then it was blown up by Speaker Johnson at the last minute. And yet, we still provided votes to keep government funded because of all the things that could happen to people if government shut down. But I think now, and it was a little more complicated because it was divided government. We had a Democratic president, a Democratic Senate. Now we will have Republican president, Republican Senate, Republican House. And I think the thing that we have to do is stay very strong and united and put up a fighting front so that people understand we are not going to let these bad things happen to them, because that's my firm belief is that there are going to be a lot of terrible things for the American people that come out of this next Congress. And I don't want people to have any illusions about where Democrats stand. I want them to know we're on their side, protecting Social Security, protecting Medicare, making sure that people can get food stamps, SNAP benefits, education. I mean, all the things that people need to have a decent life. And they need to see Democrats fighting for that.
I'm not sure if you saw the letter from the 11 House Freedom Caucus members about their demands. Yeah. I'd grab that. There were internal conflicts within that document, right? Like, on one hand, they talk about the fact that they want to see the platform that incoming President Trump was elected on, which includes mass deportations, really be acted on. At the same time, they say they want everything to be deficit neutral. Yeah. So somehow they want to spend $1 trillion to fund a mass deportation plan at the same time that they're talking about how they don't want to raise government spending, which feels a little bit like they're telling on themselves.
No, there's a lot of hypocrisy in everything, both in the promises they've made and the things that they want. Look, you cannot do the things they're talking about, from the tax cuts to the mass deportations, without affecting mandatory spending on Social Security and Medicare.
How do you cut $2 trillion out of the budget?
You cannot do that. And so they are going to have to confront that. And that's why I say Democrats have to be really strong, because sometimes we get caught up in, well, we can save this program. But I think sometimes we need to make sure we're seeing the forest and not just the trees. And there is a big question here about what the Republicans are going to do to lower costs, to raise wages, to provide child care, to provide housing. And I thought Leader Jeffries did a good job of talking about those things during his speech yesterday.
Yes, that was strong. My only concern is about the first minute.
I thought that part was very strong. And I think we need to continue to focus on that, right? Because look, the combined wealth of the Trump-nominated cabinet is over $450 billion. Now, I got nothing against wealth, but how are you going to advocate for people who literally are just living paycheck to paycheck, if they're lucky, when you don't even know what it's like to go to the grocery store or give up a movie or try to get kids, get your kids
Well, they have
food.
people who do that for themselves.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So what are the conflicts of interest that are going to come out of that cabinet? And did you notice in the rules package, by the way, that they replaced the name of the Office of Congressional Ethics with the Office of Congressional Conduct? So ethics is no longer our standard. It's now conduct. And you got to understand that there were a lot of Republican scandals.
With some messed up conduct.
With some messed up conduct.
To say the least.
And so I think this is all going to be. And the 11 members that wrote that that letter, Freedom Caucus members, 9 members either didn't vote for Mike Johnson in the first round or voted for somebody else, or when the roll call happened. So 9 is the number that they need to oust the speaker. So they were sending a very clear message there. And I think, once again, they're going to have a lot of divisions, and it's up to Democrats to stand up strong for working people and poor people across this country who are just struggling to make ends meet.